Welcome to the Wealthy Actor Podcast. I'm Valerie Hubbard, an industry veteran with 25 years dedicated to helping actors navigate the business side of their craft.
And I'm James Hallett, a fellow lifelong actor and coach, joining Valerie on this journey.
Here on The Wealthy Actor, we're diving deep into the stories and insights of actors from all walks of life.
We'll be unraveling the threads of success, failures, and everything in between.
So if you're ready to embark on a journey beyond the footlights, join us as we sit down with fascinating actors, industry experts, and thought leaders to uncover the secrets of becoming a truly wealthy actor. I'm Valerie Hubbard.
And I'm James Hallett.
And this is the Wealthy Actor Podcast, where the art of acting meets the business of building a truly prosperous life in the spotlight. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wealthy Actor Podcast. My name is Valerie Hubbard. I'm joined by my amazing co-host.
Thank you, Val. I'm James Hallett. We're super excited to be here. We have an amazing guest today.
Let me introduce her. Joining us today is Miss Amy Chaffee, an elite dialect coach. I always say the best dialect coach in the world. That's my opinion. An actor who bridges the gap between classical training and the Hollywood marketplace with a client list that includes Oscar winners Colin Firth, Kathy Bates, and Melissa Leo. Amy has spent over 13 years coaching for major film and television productions. A Tulane University professor and NYU Tisch alum, she combines deep academic expertise in Fitzmaurice voice work with 3 decades of professional experience on stage and screen. She is here to talk about finding your voice, finding the funny, and the hyper-practical skills actors need to thrive in today's industry. Please welcome to the Wealthy Actor Podcast, Miss Amy Chaffee.
Yay. Yay. We don't have an applause track, so this is us.
We need an applause track. Hi, Amy.
Yay. Exactly.
So thank you. I feel all glowed up. I mean, my mother's passed, but I'll take that instead. So that was a better intro than my mother would have given me.
That's funny.
Well, thanks. It's so great to be here. I really like your podcast. There's a lot of interesting kind of spicy stuff that's been said on here.
Thank you.
It's contentious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not everybody is on the same page, which I like, which means that there are many avenues towards having a salubrious career.
Yeah.
There is. Yeah, Giselle, who was our last one. I mean, what a story. Like, America's Next Top Model and all that. That was crazy. Yeah. I'm so happy to have you. I mean, I just did a class for Amy at Tulane, and that was fun with all your different, and it's so this is the first thing. You have this is with me with Actors Fast Track too. You have like students that are not just acting, they're doing everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, partly because I teach at a university that doesn't offer like a conservatory style acting program. And I can't speak to those because I've actually never, although I went to 2 of them, I went to NYU Tisch School of the Arts and I went to the Old Globe in San Diego at USD. I never have taught in a conservatory. I have always taught at kind of a broader range university that offers both the humanities, science and engineering and medical and law. And so I have these really well-rounded individuals who come to me. And I always used to say, like, acting is the gateway drug to the creative career you're probably destined to have but didn't know existed. I mean, look at all of us, right? We're all trained actors, and yet we're having a podcast, which not one of us knew existed when we were kids. But I also think, just side note, I think podcast is the fancy new word for radio, but radio sounds old-timey. Everybody seems to love to just listen to things the way we used to, or sit around and listen to things the way our parents used to. Anyway, total side note. But yeah, my students and my clients, I've never really thought about or aimed at corporate coaching. There are people who make a deliberate beeline for that. I've always stayed in the realm of performance. But I find that everything that we actors know how to do is strongly, highly prized in other areas. And so for all the moms and dads out there telling their children not to go get an acting degree because how are you going to make money at that? You use your acting degree. Every lawyer I know needs an acting degree. Every doctor I know needs the training that we get in acting classes. The voice work, the body work, the see, feel, hear, feel. Like I'm literally being brought into the medical school to teach residents this material. And on top of that, I also have like all these students who want to get into advertising and strategic communication and even finance bros. They like to take my stand-up class. So it's really interesting. I mean, and when I say finance bros, I mean overwhelmingly the finance majors tend to be gentlemen.
Yep. No, that makes sense. And what's interesting too, following on what you're talking about, I've discovered that in the world of AI, there's a lot of negative reaction to AI for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
And especially as actors and voice actors, anyone who's doing this, but AI as a tool is here to stay because it's a tool. And so the challenge of like, how do we negotiate that tool? And one of the things I've discovered is that world of AI where you have large language models, it needs people who have a sense of how to use large language.
Yes, yes. Many things to say in response to that entire statement.
I know it's a can of worms.
Spicy. No, I mean AI needs to be used very sparingly in the same way like cayenne needs to be used sparingly, or cinnamon. You remember when young people were doing the cinnamon challenge and they were dying from it? Like whoever thought cinnamon could kill you, but too much of a good thing will kill you. And just watched Artemis touch down this last week.
Yeah.
Trees are more rare in the universe than diamonds. Diamonds are made on planets all the time and in star systems. Trees are only made here. If we poison our water, as happens even within the closed containment center of a data center, you don't have an ecosystem anymore. It's like the bees are gone, we're all gone. The water's gone, we're all gone. That said, we've built AI like we've built religion, and some people believe in it and some people don't. Some people rely on it overmuch, and we are learning how dangerous it can be, right? We are quickly being able to graph and enumerate how harmful the misuse of this tool can be. We can't put the genie of nuclear power back in the bottle, and we can't put the genie of AI back in the bottle. However, we can learn to contain it and use it very sparingly, only for the purposes of good. But we're going to have to watch it for the rest of our existence as a species, as long as we have power to build data centers on this earth. If we can build data centers off planet, I'm all in.
Can I ask you a follow-up question to this? In terms of the students that you work with and the effect of people having iPhones and their faces like this, like the young people growing up really glued to a device, how has that changed your approach and the necessity of you as a voice teacher? What has been the effect, and how do you tackle that challenge?
Well, let me tie these two last things in together, right? When you brought up AI, we have to use it in our field. As AI is shoved down our throats, or as it is used proliferatively, the desire for human experience, true human experience, is going to increase. I just saw somebody in an article recently purport that there will be a rise in live theater attendance, especially by young people, because they will be skeptical of everything they see on their screen, albeit addicted to it, but also hungry for the real experience. My experience with students, so I've been teaching well before the iPhone was introduced in 2007, and I saw this crest and necessity for it. I even just had a student who graduated in 2017. I used to teach at UCLA, and he remembered being anxious the day I said, put your phones away, you can't have them for the entire hour and 10-minute class. And he remembers that anxiety, still remembers it in his body. And he works as a creative editor for KQED, and it was like, oh, that rings, yeah, that resonates. My students today, who are graduating in 26 and 27, they have opted, many of them, for flip phones. Starting about 8 years ago, I started seeing students do experiments of weaning themselves off their phones. At 18, 19 years old, they already knew that it was harmful to their health. So I watch it all, and my job is to bring them back to their bodies. So my philosophy as a teacher, and I don't know where I got this from, it's long, way deep from my childhood years as an actor. Be known for what you do. Be known for what you do, and you can have a career, period. But if what you do is 40 hours a week on your phone, that's what you do. Then you're a consumer, you're not a producer, and who's going to pay for that? Be known for what you do. You have this body that you're born with, regardless of whether you wished it was taller, skinnier, darker, lighter, zhuzh in whatever way. This is the body you've been born into. And you can do something. You can do almost anything with it, given the parameters of your existence, right? I'm never going to be more than 5'3". Even with 6-inch heels on, I'm still 5'3". No, I'm kidding. Like, we've got to do something with our bodies. And I always find with actors or performers or lawyers or doctors, giving them something to do gets them out of their head, instantly gets them in the moment. And also, there's this wonderful new radical thought group called the School of Attention. They're based in Brooklyn. And this guy, Burnett, who I saw speak recently, there's all these scholars who get together and they bring, like, we have a crisis of attention. He talks about human fracking. Like, there has been this concerted effort to divide our attention and pull our focus away from anything other than that which they can monetize. It's all about eyeballs. And you've talked about this on this podcast. How do you attract attention to your project? So that's the system is fracking. It's a biohack on the human body. Nevertheless, people know this. We can feel it in our bodies. We have been fracked. You ever put your phone down and like, oh, I can't do that anymore. You got to get away from the screen, right? Yeah. Because even if you're making money as in finance, you're stuck on a screen. Yeah?
Yep.
So how do we get our bodies back? How do we reclaim our patrimony, our inheritance of this beautiful globe, back to Artemis and those gorgeous pictures from the moon, right? How do we reclaim our interoceptive knowledge? That's like our gurgling understanding of ourselves, the intelligence that tells us when to blink or swallow or tells us, oh, I itch here, right? That's interoceptive. And even our exteroceptive knowledge, like right now, humans are being entrained away from like, oh, that hurt me. Or like babies in America are now not potty trained on average until after 2 years. When the three of us were little, it was on average 9 months. This is a move away from cloth diapers into wicking that doesn't let them know they feel wet. So they feel full, they release, and they don't have an exteroceptive awareness that anything needs to be done. They have to be taught that instead of their bodies understanding, oh, I better change something. I better move. Yeah. So how do we bring ourselves back to we've made everything so comfortable. The vast majority of people have AC and it's like a perfect ambient 72 degrees. People are not able to integrate like extremes. Even like 40 feels really chilly to somebody down here in New Orleans, whereas 90 feels grossly overheated to my friends in Wisconsin, you know, and how are we going to integrate all this stuff? So how are we going to work with this instrument? What do you do? How you do one thing is how you do everything. How do you spend your day? How do you train your body?
So the thing that I have really noticed is that, I always say a confused mind doesn't buy, but I see a lot more confusion than ever before. And I'm wondering how you have seen, because what you're talking about is attention. We wake up, if you turn your phone on, you have like a million things coming at you, and we have no attention now. But also, I think, we have less education. And so how have you seen that sort of evolve in your teaching the last 20 years? Like, how have you seen that?
Well, we all know that the people who chase what the industry wants are behind the ball, right? If you're chasing what somebody's already created, you're already making less than everybody else. Yeah. You have to actually do what you do and then create a demand for it, right? So there's still the desire to be wanted, to be picked, the human desire to be chosen and have the easy way. Like the eyes want to close. Like the Barca lounger wants to recline. We want the easy, the fall line of the hill to fall as easily as possible. What is troubling is that looking at your phone is easy. Being a consumer is easy, and it feels like you're really doing something. Like we'll talk about activism, like reposting an angry meme. That feels like you're actually doing something, but you're shouting into the void unless somebody is watching your stories on Instagram. We are being lulled into the idea that we're actually doing something when we're taking it easy. And you guys both know, I mean, everybody knows it's that Horatio Alger like mythos of America, like hard work will get you ahead. But what we think of as hard work now is actually just being a human. People say adulting is hard. Like figuring out how to take your garbage out. My students, like, they're in college in a dorm room until they're 22. That's a lot of delayed development. So with this softening of our experiences, and I don't mean that in like we're all being coddled, it's nice to have our trash taken out. You know, it's nice to have DoorDash. I'm not going to take that away from people, but this is how we're being fracked. This is how we're being fracked. So I always state in my syllabus that discomfort is a tool that we need to use. AI is comfort. Where's the discomfort? If you are working with, and I don't mean pain, I don't mean hurt or harm, I mean discomfort. And if we've never even experienced like, oh, my diaper is wet, discomfort is foreign to us and feels very alarming and maybe harmful. But discomfort is not. Discomfort is the ache of your muscles after an hour on the treadmill, right?
Yeah, and discomfort can also be as simple as really being in front of someone who you recognize you don't understand yet.
Or being in
Right.
front of
So
someone who has misunderstood you.
exactly right. That moment of being present can be discomfort and revelatory, and
Or
and if we do not experience the discomfort, we will never experience the revelation. We'll never open up to the possibility of welcoming in a new perspective, a new way of being, a new possibility, the enlightenment of the other.
yeah, we're talking about growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yes.
can't have growth without a little discomfort.
Yeah. Talk to a
Just
chick.
doesn't.
Talk
There's
to a
this
chicken and an egg,
Yeah,
right?
there's this old Hopi Indian thing where it says, most people, the rapids, if you're in a river and life is a river, the rapids are life. Most people hang on to the bank because they're afraid of getting into the rapids, right? Because life can be up and down. And I think that's what I've learned about entrepreneurship. It's like not for the faint of heart. Like, you're like, some days it's great. And some days you're like, I want to kill myself, like it's really dramatic. And so I think, I always say to my clients, like 5 seconds of courage gets you a lifetime of happiness. And so many people are scared to step out. And I feel like that's gotten worse. Like I've seen that, like, just this paralysis that I see.
Yes, and the fear of risk. The risk aversion has gotten so high, and this is partly because we're comfortable, right? There are parts of the world that have not been, the humans have not been fracked because they don't hold the money. But we in America, big fat target, big fat fracking. We're like the largest shale oil reserve. And so the company, and fracking is literally splitting the earth and sending a high powered chemical down to make the oil come up. It's like this really, like going through granite. So whatever our natural resistance to this stuff, every creative entrepreneur, every industry right now is trying to figure out what sort of pressure and force to break us open and grab our eyeballs. And what are you doing with your life, and how much are you being told to do? How do you spend your day? So these are the things I think my students are more aware of to holler out to a brighter future. My 20-year-olds understand this better than my 50-year-old friends because they've experienced it from birth. and they're wise. They don't want, I mean, they all know that Bill Gates doesn't let his kids have phone or didn't let his kids have, a computer in their bedroom. They all know that tech giants don't let their children on the internet. They are aware.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, go ahead. No, please, please.
no, I was just going to say, as far as being a successful artist in the world, there is only the vein of gold in you. You are the only one of you in all the history of time. It's the Martha Graham quote, right? There is only one of you in all the history of time. And if you judge your talent, if you judge your impulses, or if you restrain them, they will never exist. Ever. If you silence yourself, your voice will not be heard ever in all the history of all human beings. And while it may feel like no one's hearing you, no one reads your angry meme, you didn't make that meme. Make something. Someone make a podcast. Someone will hear you. I was like, what do I want to talk about on this podcast? I want people to use their voices. I want people to take action and make something with their voices. And if you have been told you can't sing, I ask you this. I'm really going to pivot fast. If you have a body, you have a voice.
Yep.
There is a grand professionalization of voices in our world, even to the point of voiceover. Like, everybody thinks they're supposed to sound like Don LaFontaine in a world if they do voiceover, right? Or they all have to sound like this if they're going to do animation. And there's a giant, anybody who is like you would like to hear someone like you. And that's really important. So get on mic. Start making your voice heard. And if you don't want to get on mic, get on a soapbox on the corner, or go get into a community choir, or go get into a community room, or go to an open mic and make some jokes happen. Because we have a lack of diversity of voices. We have an over-professionalization of sound. And we have also deferred to those businesses that have told us what a good sound is. Like when we were all growing up, and I refer to this because we are definitely of an older generation, the three of us. But like, you remember the movie Rocky? Rocky's on a date with Adrian, and they wander by four men standing around a burning trash can singing doo-wop. It's often cut in the televised version, but it's in the movie. And he stops and he listens for a second, and he walks on, and she says, "You know them?" And he goes, "No, it was a good sound." This is the men standing around making harmonies together was standard in the 70s when he wanted to make that move. 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, still to this day, I hear working kids, throwing out rhymes and rhythms. So in a lot of ways, it pays to be working class in this business, because you have no squish from the middle class going, do the thing that's monetized, do the thing everybody else did. But working class kids are like, I got nothing, I might as well try. So there is an advantage to not having too much information about what's popular. But it's not like they can't tell. They just don't have any reason not to. They're not risking losing anything, because a lot of working class or working poor people say, why not? Why not? I'm really talking philosophy of why to get into the business. But if fear is stopping you, I'm going to look up this quote, so I don't want to get it wrong. But there is a line from Measure for Measure. He says, our doubts are traitors. Our doubts are traitors. And I will look up the rest of the line because it's really good, and I probably won't do it justice. What's up?
I mean, that by itself is very powerful.
And we'll look it up on AI. I'm just kidding.
Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. It's in Act 1, Scene 4.
That's holding on to the riverbank.
Yes, ma'am.
And not letting go. It's like, If you can get them thinking like, okay, this is your life. This is, like you said, this is your chance. This is your one opportunity to get out and sing your song. And that's why I'm always so much about rule breaking, because it's a lot of times the rules like, well, this, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that, you're not supposed to do that. I always say you only need to be in LA or New York or London for 6 months to be fully ensconced in the straitjacket of everything you're not supposed to do. And then they spend the rest of their lives, in this straitjacket, or the rest of their lives looking for an agent or something ridiculous.
Right. I will also say, though, remember, you are what you do. And if you do a bunch of extra work in LA, you're an extra. And that's what you get known for very quickly. And I'm still an actor. I still act. But I'm a dialect coach. That's what I'm known for, because that's what I do. So people call me when they come into town. If they Google, dialect coach in Louisiana, I come up. And if they Google Cajun dialect, I come up. And it's not because I particularly sought that, but that's what was here. And I believe in diversity of voices, and I also believe in proper representation. So one of the things that I feel is in working class communities like the Cajun community or the Creole community in Louisiana, there has been a bad misrepresentation of them. And I strive in my work to have their sounds and their voices represented properly. That in a way they look at it and they go, that's me, that's my aunt, my grandfather sounded like that.
But can you talk a little bit about you grew up in Wisconsin? Is that correct?
I did. My folks are not from there. I'm not of Wisconsin stock. My mother immigrated from Scotland when she was a baby, and my father was born and raised in Southern California. I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a very polyglot, multinational, multiracial, multi-ethnic community. And so I was surrounded by sounds and cultures. And then I spent part of my high school years in Palo Alto, because my dad had a job that moved from Wisconsin to Palo Alto. And notice how I say that. I don't say Palo Alto. I say it like somebody from there. All one word, Palo Alto. And then I finished high school back in Wisconsin. So I was used to bouncing, but I realized when I moved 2,000 miles across country that it's a very diverse country. Everything that was valued or lauded or assumed in one place had a completely different value or importance in another place. And I found that exciting. Other people might have found that really discouraging. I loved it because theater is theater everywhere, and I got to do theater in both places.
It's fantastic. And also the journey of you as an actor and voice person, finding your way to Tulane is also interesting, because based on the fact that you're known as a dialect coach, to have a school that's not a conservatory training program, to have a school that have a dialect coach is awesome.
It is. I'm lucky. I'm really lucky. The field of voice training is very tiny. It's self-selected, like most fields are, but you really got to work hard to stay in it, because there are people who are like, oh, I'll do that. And then I went to New York and studied at NYU. I stayed there for a few years after. I went back to Wisconsin, started a theater company, which is still in existence. Shout out Door Shakespeare in Bailey's Harbor. They've got a lovely season coming up this summer.
My parents lived in Bailey's Harbor. My mother and my stepfather.
Wait, Bailey's Harbor has a year-round population of 148, everybody. So, I mean, that's 148.
My mother and my stepfather lived in Door County, Wisconsin. They lived in Bailey's Harbor, then they lived in Fish Creek. I grew up in Chicago. And my mother and my stepfather first moved to Wisconsin, and they were in the Milwaukee area. And then they wanted to be closer to the water and the wild, and they moved up to Egg Harbor, Bailey's Harbor, Fish Creek. So
I'm still very attached to Door Shakespeare and my home company, Northern Sky Theater in Fish Creek. I'll be performing up there in July at a concert at the Door County Auditorium with Doc Heidi, because I am featured as a singer on his new album, our band Zen of Thieves. Our band is called Zen of Thieves, and the album is called The Birthplace of the Thunder. And I'm featured as a singer on like 7 of the 12 tracks.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, I get back up there as often as possible. I was part of a original staged reading last summer for a new show that Northern Sky is developing called The Keeper, written by David Stoddard and Karen Mall. So that's going to be in their future. Northern Sky Theater is very unusual. I've been a member of their company since 94, and they are the only theater in the world that does all original musicals only.
Wow.
They are rooted in the people and the culture of that region, the Great Lakes region. So shows about lighthouse keepers and lumberjacks and the sailing of the expansion and the French voyageurs, not just historical, but there's a lot of contemporary stuff that's very, very sweet too. So that's my grounding when I come home, when I touch the bottom of the ocean of who I am as an artist, it's there. And I will also shout out the man who started it, a man named David Peterson, who has now been passed away for the last 10 years. He started this, he found an amphitheater that was just for nature talks back in the 60s. And he was like, this would be a great place to do a little concert. And so this company started in 69 and it's been going ever since. After that, I bounced around as actors do. I was in Chicago for a while, twice, 93 and 96. I eventually ended up out in LA. I did my grad degree in San Diego, and after San Diego, I ended up in LA. People say I ended up in, I'll be really honest, I never made any strategic career moves. It was all chasing a man. Not strategic. But I followed love and I followed my heart, which I don't mind. I did a couple of national tours in that period of the 90s and things like that. And I ended up in LA and I ended up teaching with Val at a for-profit film school that was just building curriculum to get accredited. And so I learned about accreditation when I was there. And my father had worked in higher ed for a long time. I moved to LA to be in love and start a family. And by the way, I had all these acting credits from New York and Chicago and everywhere. And they didn't really mean shit in LA. They didn't mean fuck all. I found out that my resume was even organized inappropriately to get jobs there because I had all my theater credits on top, my off-Broadway and my Broadway credits up top. And a film casting agent literally said, "Have you never worked professionally?" And I nearly choked. I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Oh no, here's your film." Yeah, you haven't. And she was only interested in that. And that's fine. That's her lane, right? So I had a big education. I would like to call it graduate school for graduates in LA, where I had to learn a whole new career. And I just took what I knew. And I was in a master class, and I took class like 3 days a week for 8 years in LA. Not because I didn't know how to act, but I didn't know what the market was looking for, and I needed community. So while I'm teaching full-time with my master's degree, my MFA, my terminal degree, I'm also in class full-time, more or less. Like, what was that, 14 hours a week? Yeah. You got to spend money to earn money, as Valerie always says.
Yeah.
And I will say to the fellow teachers, big shout out to Valerie Hubbard and some of our other people, John Henry and Case. I'm just going to say their names on air. It was a very special time with a very special community of teachers, and we built something really unusual.
We left our curriculum there. I'm still there, and I know they're still teaching my curriculum.
They can't teach mine.
No, they could not. So I want to hear a little bit about your experience of coaching, dialect coaching in big time movies and television. Like, we want to know a little bit about that and what that's been like in that journey for you.
I'm going to have to shout out Val. The for-profit school we worked at had all these international students, like 73% of our student body were from other countries. And because I grew up with a multinational, multiracial, multicultural set of voices in my ear, and I'm hungry for vocal diversity, I was like a blind dog in a meat market. I was like, I want to touch all the accents. And so I built out of nowhere, because those students all wanted to work in American film and television. They wanted American accents, and I wanted to listen to their sounds. So I built pro bono, I didn't even charge the school for this, a class in accent reduction, which is a horrible, like very American-centric term. I'm never looking to reduce people's accents, but to sell it to these students, I just want to put a big old asterisk around that title. accent reduction or accent mitigation. Don't ever lose your real sound. Look at Manuel Ruflo on Netflix right now. He's
Netflix, Lincoln Lawyer.
five
Yeah.
seasons. His accent is exactly the same as he was when he came to America.
When we taught him acting.
So Hollywood has changed. Don't let anybody tell you you cannot work in your sound. But if you would like to expand your palette, work with a voice coach. Don't do it on your own. Okay, so I built this class, and then I had this magnificent recording of all of their sounds. And I could do imitations of each of the roughly 38 or so in the first couple years that I worked with. And that included like Kazakhstan and Indonesia and like pretty exotic stuff you wouldn't get a bite of in Kansas. You know what I mean? So I had this great repertoire of sounds. And then Valerie ran into a woman in a coffee shop who was a dialect coach in television, and they hit it off just chatting. And the woman said, I need someone to replace me because I'm going to go coach. Who was she going to go coach? It was somebody famous.
I can't remember. Yeah, I actually met her in a casting workshop.
What was it?
Yeah, that's where I met her. I met her in a casting workshop and we became friends. And then she told me, oh, I for a living, I'm a dialect coach. I'm like, you are? And she's like, yeah. And then she's like, I'm with the best agency in LA for dialect coaches. And we're looking for someone. I'm like, well, I know the best dialect coach ever. And that's how that.
It was Russell Crowe. She had to go coach Russell Crowe on a movie because she was attached to
Russell Crowe.
So she was leaving this new television show that was NBC for Fox at the time, and she brought me on. She knew she was going to have to leave, and she brought me on. And so my very first dialect coaching gig for money, although I'd coached people for fun and for love, but my big break, as it were, was on a series that it was the fall of '07. Right into the writer's strike. And midway through the first 13, they hadn't even been promised their back 9. Midway through the first 13, the strike hit. So episodes 7 through 13, we did without writers, but it had already been pre-sold internationally. And so we got through it all. We were the very last show to shut down on the Fox lot. And it was fascinating. I have all kinds of information about force majeure and what strikes really do, how they are very advantageous to the corporations, but they also get us what we need. We need to do them, but the corporations use them like a colonic. Okay, so then I'm on that, and that gets me more work. Even though the writer's strike is happening, people are working, they know that everybody's coming back. And I had to go with this woman's agent to have the job so the agent could get the 10%. So that agent then found me 2 small movies that were kind of cast-offs from bigger dialect coaches. And I became their sort of sub-in, but they were like tiny movies where I was making what I make now for like a day. My day rate then is what I make now for an hour. Like it was insane, small. But I was excited to go be on a movie in North Carolina with Colin Firth and Ellen Burstyn and Patty Clarkson and all these amazing people. And I still am friends with a bunch of those people, Orlando Bloom and Amber Tamblyn, Tom Wopat, childhood crush. So I go off and I do 3 days on this movie. That's all they've hired me for. I bring a carry-on and they get a whiff of me and they all go like, you're not going anywhere. The actors tell me that you're not going anywhere. I go, what? And Colin goes, you should call your husband and tell him to send you some clothes. So what? So the UPM, the line producer, calls me in and he goes, they tell me that they can't do the movie without you. And I was like, okay. And he goes, well, can you stay? And I said, I mean, can somebody pay for my clothes to be shipped? I only brought a carry-on. You only said 3 days. Where are you going to house me? Because they had me in like this janky hotel. And he was like, well, you could stay. And I was like, oh no. And he goes, well, that's up to you and your agent. And he should have never said that. But in the next breath, I go, well, I guess I can stay. The next breath, he goes, now tell me why the actors can't do this without you.
Ah.
And I said, I think you have to ask them. I think you have to ask them. Because the line producer's job is to make the project with as little outflow as possible. I don't care if they use me or not. I let go of all of that. There will always be a job. There will always be jobs. There will always be people who need my support. There will always be people who need my skills.
Right.
But
Was that a single man? Was that a single man?
No, that was a movie that has no third act and has not been seen really since. What is it called? It was right before, it was a couple years before A Single Man. It was before The King's Speech, too. We worked on The King's Speech a little bit when we were on that movie together. We worked on his stammer. It's a fun story. You guys remember I, Claudius with Derek Jacobi? So Derek Jacobi has a stammer for everybody else in the world who's under 50. Derek Jacobi plays a emperor of Rome who has a stammer. And it was this BBC multi-part series. And Jacobi apparently modeled it on this assistant props guy on set who had a stammer. Colin works on this stammer for a year before The King's Speech. I send him models, we work on breath, we work on the mechanism, I understand the science. He goes and works with 2 other coaches in England. I watch him on screen and I go, that's not at all what any of the things were. I wonder where he got it. We talk later and he was, oh, no, thanks. Yeah, that was this production manager. He's the production manager for the entire movie. And what's very interesting is that Derek Jacobi used him when he was an assistant props man. I mean, we all know the story. I mean, in the dialect coach world, we all know the story about the assistant props guy. But what's funny is it's the same goddamn stammer because he's there on set. And the actor can go over and listen to him and imitate him. How fun is that?
Wow. So I grew up with a huge stammer, I mean, it has different words, right? Like I stuttered.
What were your catch sounds? What were your catch sounds?
It wasn't even a letter. It was fear of being criticized. It was an extreme fear of being criticized. And I still have a slight, so you'll notice if you listen, I still have a slight delay in language, and it is my correcting, so I still have that.
Are you one of those people that thinks five words ahead of everything?
Yes.
Oh,
I go really fast.
My partner does that too. My partner has that. He thinks 5 words ahead of everything, but his entire family has a stammer and they all have catch sounds. Valerie and I worked with a young actor once who was both from Russia and had a sublimely heavy stammer. So he had both an accent and a stammer. But I think Val should someday do a show all about Roman Marshansky, who...
Let me just say that kid, Russian accent, stammer, applied what I was teaching in business of acting and was successful. Like, it was so insane to me. I'm like, if he can do it, it's really interesting because
he wrote parts for him. He sent out 7,000 online in 1 year with his OPT, 7,000 online admissions, 2,000 physical drop-offs, and 1,000 he showed up for, whether he had an audition or not. That was back in the day when you could find out where they were. He booked a lead in a movie that they wrote for him.
There are so many famous actors who are known for their distinct sound. And it's like they didn't change their sound to become like everyone else.
No.
They leaned into their identity. They leaned into their truth. They leaned into what makes them different, And this is the thing, is like, it's a fine balance, because I also, as a Shakespearean trained actor, I recognize the importance of learning how to live in that language, right? And how to live with poetic language, but also at the same time to bring myself to it. And that these things, you can't separate them.
So I have 2 things to say to that. One, I love Lady Percy, and Henry IV Part 2, she said, he was the mark and glass copy and book that fashioned others. For those that could speak low and tardily would turn their own perfection to abuse to seem like him. She's literally talking about he had a famous stammer that everybody else wanted to imitate. When Mark Rylance did Twelfth Night on Broadway, he had done it in England, he gave his Lady Olivia a stammer.
I love it.
He put a stammer into the character.
That's great.
To give her a sense of vulnerability, because often she's played as this great lady, she's invulnerable, but he chose to find in her breath this very, very like falling over herself when she falls in love.
I love it.
Why can't Shakespeare's characters have stammers? His very characters talk about people who have stammers. Why?
Well, I gave Anne Page a list because it's such a fucking boring character. She needed something.
No, but why can't they be human beings? They should be human beings. They're
Of
not
course.
carved from ivory. They're not statues.
No.
One of my favorite quotes about approaching Shakespeare was, "It's not that these people speak in verse; it's that in order to be understood in the court, they have to speak in verse." It's an interesting conception. Let me explain. So it's the idea that instead of thinking like, oh, everyone in this world speaks in verse, it's that the requirement is that you speak in verse. So then you don't know what you're going to say. You're at that place of discovering what you're saying. You're always in discovery.
Love that. You should always be in discovery and wonder and curiosity and all those variants. I will say that Shakespeare is really manipulative, and he puts the actor in the place of the character that he wants the character to be. So it's literally if you just play the notes, like think of it as a musical score and play the notes, you will have an experience. Like the end of that speech I just quoted from Lady Percy, she says, "Had my Harry had but half their numbers, might I today, hanging on Hotspur's neck, have talked of Monmouth's grave." Like if you just build those H's, you're gonna have an experience. And
Yeah.
the audience doesn't
Yeah,
you don't need to feel emotion. You just need to actually give over.
It's so true.
Right.
Like, when I first started acting school and I had not done Shakespeare. And then, of course, that's what I ended up making a living doing for the first 5 years out of acting school, first 10 years. But when I first started, they gave me a scene and I hated it. Like, I'm like, I can never learn this. And I remember it was like this moment. I was standing outside my voice teacher's office. I had a meeting and they had given me Paulina from Winter's Tale. And I'm like walking one foot in front of the other, waiting for him to call me in. And I'm like, what study torments tyrant has for me? And then all of a sudden, it was like a path lit up for me. And I just had to walk down it. It blew my mind because I finally got it. And it was just in that moment.
If you allow yourself to go along for the ride, you will be changed as an actor. You don't need to, but you just have to have an instrument. You have to have a physical instrument that is prepared to go to those lengths. That's the big thing, is most people don't have the strength of breath, and they don't have the resonance, and they can't, and they're used, I mean, a lot of people, I was just thinking about this, like somebody who's a regional theater director friend of mine who's like, it's really hard to do high style comedies anymore because people under 40 just don't have the chops. Like they're so addicted to contemporary realism. And a lot of it is musicality, but a lot of it is training your body to be able to do those comedies, like get the rhythm of it. So it's kind of one of the reasons why I'm sort of sneaking in and teaching people improvisation and stand up together so that they can start to feel the setup, punchline. The other thing I was going to say to you, James, is you know how when we hear about musicals, like I want to hear, I want to come out humming the tune, right? I want to have it stick in my head. We also love that for pop hits. When Shakespeare wrote in high emotion, his characters were in high emotion, he would write in prose. Would write in poetry. The highest emotion was in rhymed poetry, because those are the moments people are most hit by, and they can go out and hum the tune. Right? They can go out and they can quote it.
Which is extraordinary that we have, for the most part, lost that ability to do that with language. I think, so let me be clear, because I see your reaction immediately. But
I want to know more.
Well, in Shakespeare's time, people could hear a monologue and walk out and repeat the monologue.
Yes.
And people could, there were people who could come out and actually recite what they had heard. And I think that adeptness of attunement, like there are cultures there are groups in I think that like the world that sort of woke up to me around this was when I watched 8 Mile. And I realized that Eminem was talking about a world that I didn't know. And that because I had never been to one of those battles. And I was like, rap battle. I was like, oh, that's Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Right. The rap battle that's being on stage, in a real Shakespeare play where you're battling with language, which I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic.
My partner says Shakespeare's not for him, not his cup of tea, but he knows the entire catalog of every Jay-Z lyric. He knows every single word.
Yeah.
It's metered, it's rhymed. They make up words. They make up words because they want to evoke a feeling. Shakespeare
Sounds like Shakespeare made up a lot of words too, right? With like for the same
they
reason.
throw
Yeah.
a suffix on or throw a prefix on to give a feeling, to engender a feeling in the person who's listening. Like I like to say faux shizzle, right? We've all heard it, right? Do you know who coined faux shizzle?
Uh-uh.
Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And faux shizzle is a one-off of for sure, but it's really a one-off of faux show. So to say for sure has a different emotive quality than faux show, depending on where you're from in the country and your ethnic orientation. One may feel more warm, one may feel more cold, who knows? But then he wants to create a sensation in the song and uses the word faux shizzle. If we just briefly say, what are all the words that have the izzle suffix in them? Drizzle, sizzle, grizzle, fizzle, right? Are there any more? Fizzle, sizzle, grizzle. And then he says, faux shizzle my nizzle. He goes on to have that izzle. But what does izzle give you? What is the hearing, feeling sense that the izzle sound gives you? What does it give you guys?
Well, first of all, it's a little bit humorous, right? A little comedic, and also it feels bodily.
What does it make your body feel?
Movement.
What
Shaky.
kind of shaky? I love
Shimmer.
that. What else?
Shimmer.
What else,
Shimmer.
James?
I'm like, like for me, I like peeing. Peeing is shizzly, right? Like, you know.
Drizzly. Drizzle. There it is. Drizzle.
Yeah.
Drizzle. So it's this sense. I love Val's like moving. You don't know. You can't necessarily come up with the word for it because he made it. And you go, oh, it makes me do something.
Yeah.
Love this. He made a word that makes the audience do something. Oh, shizzle. Right? And so faux show is an affirmation. It is a strong affirmation. It is a reaffirmation, but it has this to it. It makes your body kind of wiggle, wobble, jiggle, zizzle. Somebody once said bacon. I make my students go through this catechism. Bacon has the izzle, right? So like it could be hot, and I think that was part of what he wanted to do, is make the audience feel something with his words as he said them, not think, but feel.
Yeah.
I think that's, again, be known for what you do.
I'm thinking so much about so many things right now, but I was thinking about Tennessee Williams and Sam Shepard and even David Mamet. Like, one thing that was really drilled on me in acting school was punctuation and reading for the punctuation, but also like the musicality of Sam Shepard or Tennessee Williams and what that taught me, and how much I feel like a little bit in acting now that's really a lost art form, especially with American actors, and I see that, that's why all the British are coming over here and getting all our roles. But I feel like that's a lost, because I think the two things that affected me the most in acting school were voice and movement. That's the things that changed me as a human being, as an actor.
You're singing my song.
Yeah.
I mean, when people, I say right up front, don't lose your accent. But I don't say don't build your voice. People spend 8, 12, 15 hours a week at the gym and they do nothing for their vocal instrument. My favorite is if you watch the movies of Brad Pitt, from like Thelma and Louise all the way up until A River Runs Through It. And then there's some weird things that happen, like Snatch and things like that. And even the 12 Monkeys, but it's not until he hits Ocean's 11 where he works with George Clooney, and George Clooney very openly says, you got to develop your voice. You won't always have a face, but you got to develop your voice. And I don't know who gave him that information, but maybe it was his dad, who was a broadcast journalist. I'm not sure.
Or his aunt.
Yeah, maybe. But Brad Pitt's career changes radically after that. And you listen to his work, his physicality gets stiller, and his voice instrument does a huge amount of the work.
Mm.
So it's an interesting journey. I mean, if you're big into Brad Pitt, it's a fun journey to
Big into
watch.
Brad Pitt.
I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know the age. I teach a lot of 19-year-olds, and they may not even, I mean, he's their grandfather's age.
Scary thought. Yes. Exactly.
True.
I know. It's just like,
You wanted more big name stories. I am currently coaching. Who's not into Brad? Thank you, Zulima.
Zulima.
Zulima Tristancho. That sounds like a Brazilian name. What a great name. I'm working on a movie right now for Amazon called
Cool.
Allie Clark, which is starring Viola Davis. And Philip Noyce is directing it. Philip loves, he's a very famous Hollywood director in his 70s, 80s. He loves New Orleans. He loves coming down here. So the original movie, as pitched, was a governmental conspiracy movie. And somehow Amazon didn't greenlight that. I don't know why right now. So it's been moved over to Big Oil as the bad guy. And so it's kind of like a cross between Pelican Brief and Aaron Brockovich. Viola Davis plays the flawed female lawyer lead. And there are Cajun characters in it. There's a child and two grown men, and I get to coach them. So we're going to be shooting in the Bayou pretty soon. I have another movie coming out this winter, which is Avengers Doomsday, in which I got to coach Channing Tatum in advance of it. His dialect as DeGambit is much toned down from Deadpool and Wolverine. Like the whole point of Deadpool and Wolverine was to introduce DeGambit and see if that it held water and if Marvel would ever bring him back. But with all the brand new cuts at Marvel in the last 2 days, like 1,400 people were let go. Who knows if there will be anything that comes from the Marvel universe anytime soon. And from what I heard, Doomsday, it was like not well organized. They didn't have a script for a long, long time, so it was hard to coach.
wow.
That's just on my end.
So wait, who just cut 1,400 people?
Marvel, 2 days ago.
Oh my
Well,
God.
Disney cut 1,400 people, and the bulk of the cuts were at Marvel.
Marvel.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. There are some great producer kind of infotainment sites on Instagram that you can follow, and these guys get very excited about spreading the hot goss.
Oh, producer Patrick is my favorite.
Producer Patrick is great. We often say that the audience first falls in love with the voice and only then with the physicality. Yes, Vlada. Yes, it's true. We hear a person before we can actually smell them or really see their features. We can feel their sound. And here's the other fun thing about your sound. The sound of your voice never lies. If you're hiding something, we can hear it. If you are anticipating something and you have tension, we can hear it. And this is also a fun fact about voice. So many fun facts. The root of your tongue is directly connected via gray matter to your pelvic floor, to the 4 levels of muscles in your perineum and between your pooper and your sex. Your pelvic floor directly connects to your sound. Wow. So everybody listening, if you want to do a quick voice exercise, clench, like you're stopping your pee, clench. And now say your name out loud. Let's all do it on the count of 3, right? Clench and say your name out loud. 1, 2, 3. Amy Chaffee.
Valerie Hubbard.
Right? Good. Now release. I don't mean pee on yourself. I just mean release those muscles and see how much release you can get. Like check in. Am I releasing? Am I releasing? You might be a tight ass. Release a little bit more. Good. Now take a breath. And on the count of 3, say your name. 1, 2, 3. Amy
Valerie
Chaffee.
Hubbard.
Good. Any observations, awarenesses from the crowd?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mine was just like all of a sudden muted and tiny. And as soon as I released, it dropped and it was full.
Yeah, much more mellifluous. Like I felt the movement of the sound,
High marks for mellifluous there.
A great word.
And Zulima says, oh, wow, yes, I hope people at home will do this exercise. I just like to do it. It's the quickest, dirtiest. If you want to, this is also interesting in terms of facility. If you put your thumb right on the tip of your chin and you slide your thumb back underneath, you can feel the root of your tongue there. Now, everybody's tongue is Jabba the Hutt. It looks like Jabba the Hutt, and it's a gangster like Jabba the Hutt. Your tongue is a gangster. It's been doing its own thing most of your life, except for the very few times you've been in voice class. So give yourself a little tongue root massage. It may be very painful at first for some people. You might be breaking through some fascial tissue there. Fascia wraps around every muscle, bone, and joint in our body, but it might feel good after a while. Lighten up, modify as it feels best for you. No pain in my classroom.
That's our stage combat instructor used that. He said,
No pain, no pain.
No pain, no pain, which is fantastic.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, for everybody who's under 40 listening in, that is a snub to a motto that was very popular in the early 80s, no pain, no gain, which was all about gym culture and the inception of gym culture. And discomfort is not pain. All right, so you've done that. Now let's say our names and release with our pelvic floor on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Amy.
Valerie Hubbard.
James Hallett. I should say my whole name.
That's your whole name,
James
James. Slate
Hallett.
your ass. There you go.
Exactly.
Okay, so those are some quick and dirty, fun ways to loosen up your voice, especially if you're doing a podcast and you're seated all day, y'all.
I think that's also like anyone who does audiobooks.
Yes.
This is a great practice.
Because
right?
you do
And
audiobooks, and that's good.
I do audio, and I started doing more voiceover stuff. I have a new agent, and the new agent is like, I am going to send you out for everything.
I would too. I would use your voice. I'd make money off your voice if I was your agent. I would use you for everything. If you find yourself having vocal fatigue, I'll send out a link to this, but there's a great public access information. Vocology is what we're doing here, the science of voice. One of our premier vocologists in the world is a man named Ingo Tietze, who teaches in Utah, and he has a great little video called Straw Kazoo. And if you want to rehab your voice, if you need a little break, if you feel yourself being tired vocally, go and do a little straw kazoo, and we'll send out the video so people can do this at home. And this is a big one for you, James, if you're in the studio for longer than an hour or two. You will find some wear and tear. I mean, the little butterfly wings that are our vocal cords, we need moisture. We don't need a lot of airflow. Like if you've got fans blowing on you, that's going to increase the wear and tear. We definitely need the muscles that tighten and loosen the vocal cords. We need those to be warmed up. And at the end, please make sure you always do a cool down of some kind for 2 to 4 minutes. I'll do a cool down when we get off of this. And I did do a voice warm up beforehand. Voice is the whole body, I should also mention. It looks like all 3 of us are seated, but how different, I mean, just think about it, you two, how different would this conversation be if we'd been standing?
Right.
Yeah.
Vocally.
Yeah. And could move the rest of our body, right? You know.
Who says we can't?
I mean, actually, yes. A lot of the voice teachers who are talking, you can hear my stutter. A lot.
And it's so charming. I hope it never goes away.
Oh, you are so
I'm not
loving.
being kind.
But it's very I experience it as very loving.
Okay, but I mean professionally.
Yeah.
I want a big scoop of that.
So now I forgot what I was going to say, but I'm very moved.
All the voice teachers that you were referring to, you were going to say?
Yeah, the coaches who talk about working with voiceover and especially when you're doing character work as opposed to just straight reading of of text. There's some manuals that you might do, but even those coaches still talk about movement and finding movement when you're shifting a point, shifting an idea, when you're expressing a different character. Find a different movement, a different relationship to the microphone. Engage the body. It's everything you're saying, right? Engage the body. This is the instrument. It's the voice is not the separated thing.
I don't have to teach you two anything.
Well,
the rest of the people out there who might need something. I mean, and here's the thing, though, James and Valerie. I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second.
Yeah.
How often do you do this? You know it, but be real.
Well,
did you come up before this?
No.
I just worked out, so the answer is yes. I just worked out, but
I worked out.
Doesn't mean you worked your voice out.
That's right. That's right. But
I never worked my voice out, and I used to when I was making a living doing theater. Of course, I did. I would get to the theater. I would warm up my body. I'd warm up my voice, but I never, I mean, like, James, I had two auditions last week. James coached me on one of them. And this was a woman that talked very fast. Did I warm up my voice? No, maybe I warmed up my tongue a little bit.
Well, for somebody who spoke really fast, I would warm up your rib cage and your lower back. I would warm up your upper, yeah, I would warm up your pelvis for sure because you need support to do that. So the other thing is
When I book it,
We'll
book it. It was a good audition.
I know it was a perfect fit for Val, like really, really good fit. But actually, just this total side note, and I apologize for interrupting you, but there's so many roles that are right for Valerie at this moment. I'm sort of like, wow, like what? So I think that there's something about the character that you embody, Valerie, that is really present in our world right now.
people are looking for stuff that is authentic and real.
Yes.
Tired, and I'm saying something very general because people may say, I like the curated version of everything. That's okay. There's lots of that for you. And AI slop is very, very, very pretty. But the authentic, the skewed, that's why my ear wants your stammer. That's why their eye wants Val's whole deal, right? Everything Valerie brings, which is as real as it comes.
Well, so this is such an important message to actors in general.
Mind the
Because
vein of gold that is you in you.
exactly, and there's an old Kabbalistic story of the person traveling the world to find their treasure, only to finally hear the message that the treasure was always at home.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
it's the red shoes and Dorothy. It's also the Japanese flute maker,
Yeah.
the flautist, and the monk. Blah blah blah. Yes, we think that we are not enough. And so the mantra I actually make. I also put this in my. I'm going to send you the Graham quote. I'm going to send you this mantra, but it's very simple. I put it in my syllabus. You are enough. You have enough. You do enough. The thing is, how much are you doing that thing? And the class that Val came and taught that was called Entry into Creative Industries. And what was so useful about them hearing Valerie is it's one thing for the wannabe entertainment lawyer to hear another entertainment lawyer talk about their thing. The actor gets something very useful out of that because it's not their track, looking at it at a lower trajectory, coming in low, right? Valerie talks directly to the actors in the class about how to get going, what to do. All the people that spoke up afterwards were the ones who were like, I want to be an ad exec, I want to be a social media manager. And they're listening to Valerie's ideas about building their business and building their brand in the beginning. And they're like, well, it's exactly the same for us. And the actors were like, that's scary. But the other people, in the same way that the lawyer is saying, you need to be able to speak to people, make eye contact, you need to be doing all this other stuff. The actor's like, yep, got that. And the lawyer is like, so whatever tools you have, use them, do something with them. Here's the last thing I want to say. If you're trying to game the system and you think, well, they're looking for this. You said the industry's looking for Valerie right now. There are times when they're not. Did Valerie stop being Valerie? Did she dye her hair or get liposuction or add a bazillion butt lift? No, she did none of those things. She kept being Valerie. The fact is that by faux chiseling in our own way, we bring, and I'm going to get a little woo here, but there is science behind it. We bring attention to us, and there is a hunger for us.
Yes. And I mean, like, I've always talked brand, like my whole, forever I've talked brand. And I've had big people argue with me, oh, actors don't need to be branded. And I'm like, okay, well, when you send out a breakdown, you send it out as a brand. I mean, like, it's so crazy to me that they say that. But, I really see now, like you're saying, it's like they're hiring the person now more than ever before. They're authentically taking the person in front of them and putting them in. And so, that whole thing about know yourself, and which we always hated to hear, know who you are. Oh, fuck you. Like
I want to
okay.
got into acting to not be me, right?
Yeah. But the truth is now it is really important because they are literally, they like people with foibles. They like people with,
They always have. Karen Black
yes.
had a giant gap in her teeth, and she was the biggest box office star in like 1970, 71,
Yeah.
72. She had a giant gap in her front teeth. Didn't fix it. Clive Owen became famous when he had those nice manky British teeth after he got them fixed. Where's Clive Owen nowadays? So I'm not saying that getting your teeth fixed or whatever, but I'm not against body modification for whatever needs. But it is your internal compass. Look, back to what you do is who you like. If you get out of bed and you work out 8 hours a day and you help other people work out, you are a physical trainer. If you work out and then go study scripts and go do voice class and take a dance class, well, then you're an actor. Does that make sense? Like you have
Yes.
to have the holistic picture, and it's not enough to do one single thing. You have, because an actor is a holistic art. It is not like being an accountant. My accountant does one thing.
James, from now on, when you coach me, we're warming up our voices.
I'll give you a quickie warm up, Val. I'll send you a quickie warm up for you too.
Okay, great.
Can I be included? I would love to have a quickie
I'll
warm up.
send it to both of you.
That's so nice. Thank you.
And when I say quickie, I mean 15 minutes. You have to make the time.
Yeah.
You must go at the Adrienne Marie Brown, who is one of my favorite Instagram people, she talks about the speed of human trust. Speed of trust, because our bodies, our enteric brain, go slower than our thoughts. So you have to work with the body at the pace that it goes.
Right.
Animals help. Like my cat, we adopted a cat who had been on the street for maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and it took time for him to trust.
That's right.
And I sat with him in this sort of stillness of like, I'm here with you. You don't have to be afraid. And my wife was astonished because I sat for like an hour or 2 hours in absolute stillness waiting for him to come to me. Right? This is that thing. It's like
The
we're
neurological, the parasympathetic and sympathetic system work side by side. Sympathetic is fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Parasympathetic is rest and digest. And we fluctuate between them all the time. And the information that goes between them is along the vagus nerve. This is Porges polyvagal theory, right? And there are, by the way, lessons that I give in increasing vagal tone. That's part of voice work, right? So you can work freely, openly, under fairly stressful circumstances without being dysregulated. You can continue to regulate yourself if you train in this way. And this is what I do with corporate coaching. So shout out in case anybody wants to recommend me to a CEO. I'm opening up my C-suite package coming up. I'm redoing my website. I'm actually rebranding myself, Valerie.
Very good.
It's time.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yes.
We
could look, we could talk forever here like that. I mean, I'm serious. Like we could talk forever. It's been such an amazing conversation, but people don't have attention spans, but
too long.
I'm sure someone will listen to this whole thing. I'm sure they will, because it's been fantastic. I mean, it's always like you always bring the conversation up and it pulls us up with you. And, you always challenge me, like I remember when I would have you come in and work with my acting students, it would always be like, let me work with Valerie and show you how it works. And I'm like, okay. But, you would pull me up and you would work me like an old acting horse.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Me too.
One less consonant there. One less consonant.
Me too.
Oh, whore.
Okay,
but sort of that too. But it's like, okay, I've done this before, but but it was always great. And when I say, you're like one of the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life, and you are, and you've helped so many of our actors and our clients. I mean, Anna on her film. You helped her so much. You helped Angela so much. She's a series regular now. We're so Yeah, I know.
It's so
And
fun when our shared students, clients, friends are up, 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 up.
we're
It's
so proud of our Manuel. So
oh
proud.
my God.
And Pete was hanging out at the challenge last week. Yeah.
Panagiotis Kametelatos?
Yes.
Such a fan of his work. One of the best actors I've ever seen, just straight out the gate. So
I hope
true.
he's listening to this. I mean, I hope he hears this because, I'm glad you said that because he did our
He
challenge
knows.
last week and
He
he
knows
was
I'm a fan.
amazing.
None of
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
and that was true of the acting teachers he worked with at the Beverly Hills Playhouse too. They were blown away by him from the
Yeah.
first day he walked in.
That was an amazing class. And Camila has been a client off and on for years. And so we were talking about old students, what they do, but we're so proud of our Manuel because he's a fifth season. Show got picked up, I think, for another season.
Wow.
They're in the middle of
Very-
my friend's the script supervisor in the middle of shooting season 5.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm like,
Be more
I
proud.
told Pete, I'm like, Pete, why don't you ask him? Say, hey, by the way, I pitched myself to your show. I go, hey, but you never said that to him. And he's like, no. I'm like, you were like his best friend. You were his roommate. So
use
doing?
use the low fruit on the tree. Don't be shy.
don't be shy to ask.
They're called warm contacts. It's
Yeah.
a business
We
term.
call them low hanging fruit, like low hanging fruit. Like
Yep.
go to those people. Like a lot of times when you ask those people, they never even thought of it.
We don't know. They were roommates. Who knows? Maybe something blew up. Who knows? We don't know.
Oh no, they still talk.
Oh,
He said they still talk all the time. I'm like, you still talk all the time and you never asked him to get an audition on his show? Come on. Like, what are you doing?
True. It's true. This has been such a delight. Thank
It
you.
has.
Pleasure. And James, I'm really sincere. You're a voice actor and you think that stammer is a problem? Bring that on camera, dude.
I do. I can't. It's not something I don't. I can't leave it behind. It's part of who I am.
Oh God, it's so charming and endearing and honestly like puts you in a different category for casting. It's yeah. If any of my director friends or writer friends are watching, like, see what I'm talking about there?
Yeah. It is weird. It's like a lot of times, like the thing that we fight in our lives or don't like about ourselves or whatever is usually our gold.
Yeah, it's usually the
found
thing
that.
you must change is actually the thing that gets you the job.
Yeah.
Oh, you asked me how did I end up at a place that doesn't train actors? I should tell you, James, that was deliberate. I did move here deliberately for a career move. I wanted to leave LA. I was working at UCLA, and one day in 2016, I got up at 5 a.m. and I went to El Segundo to the studios there, worked for 4 hours with actors while they were getting into makeup on a series. And then I went and taught for 4 hours at UCLA. And then I went to a pilot I was working on with John Ridley in Beverly Hills and shot for 4 hours there. Then I went back to UCLA, taught for 2 hours, and then I drove to Newhall to a night shoot. And I came back to Sherman Oaks and I sat in my car and I said, there's got to be an easier way. And so I took myself out of Hollywood in 27. I've been applying for jobs. I took myself away from Hollywood and I took myself to where there was a little production, but I took a job specifically at a Research One university because obviously I'm interested in stuff beyond production. Obviously I feel like as a woman, there are times when you are learning, there are times when you are possibly producing offspring. I produced a theater company. I did not produce stuff from my womb, but I birthed a theater company. And then there are times when you start to give back. And I'm in the give back stage. I love that you guys have this podcast because I know you're feeling it too. We have accrued enough wisdom in our lifetimes that it is time to give it to other people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
when I come from that place of giving is like when I'm fire, when I'm just like there and like connecting with my love to someone, it's like, and that's the law of attraction.
I have a background as my dad taught communication science. I have an understanding in my brain. This is the vein of gold in me. I'm neurospicy as fuck. And you know it, Valerie, and it's not just quirky. I have the ability to put together very disparate thoughts and come up with ways to teach something or research something in a way no one else has ever done. So this is back to the Martha Graham quote. If you don't use your voice, that thing will never happen. So there are things I felt I had to study and research, and I wanted to be at an institution supported by an institution. So I took like a 90% pay cut and moved to Louisiana, a very poor place, very poor place. I didn't have any anticipation of what living in the South would be like. I was really caught unawares. It's a different country than any place I've ever lived in America. Different country, different laws, different language, different everything. And I endured that because I have a real passion to share what I am trying to articulate in the doctorate that I'm starting. And I'm gonna do a doctorate.
That's fantastic.
And in my late 50s, early 60s, I'm gonna go, not because I need to be cool, but because I want to write this dissertation and I want to be funded and supported in the research I have, which is how we can increase the ability to listen and perceive one another through somatic work, through the body. So I'm working counter to the biohack. So that's what I'm going to leave you on. That's why I ended up here.
Yeah. I love the trickster in you.
Yeah.
It's very palpable, it's vibrant, it's alive, and we need that. Like, we need that trickster energy. We need someone who is putting together things in new ways that we hadn't thought of, right? And waking us up through that, right? That to me is the trickster.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like I'm very WYSIWYG, like what you see is what you get. So I love that you called me the trickster. That makes me really happy. I'm going to lean into that.
I like the way you put it, which was, I'm neurospicy as fuck. Like, to me, that's trickster, right?
I've never heard that framing. I dig that. I dig that. I want to also say something to the people, because I was at the giant open auditions, the Mississippi Thespians, a bunch of high schoolers who want to act and sing and perform and make theater and get into college somewhere. And it was like 3.5 hours drive away. And I was recruiting for my university. Every single kid there was neurospicy, like, definitely. It was all the Island of Misfit Toys. There was not one person from our generation. You guys remember the girls, the musical theater girls, who would like constantly be anxious and tucking their hair and like smoothing their dress.
The flower dress and the heels. I knew them, yes.
And then fix. And it was all trying to self-soothe the neurospiciness.
Yes.
The kids today, they are all right. This is one of the good things about the internet, is they have found their community and they are validated in their unusualness.
Yeah.
And the arts are really an important valve for them to express, and they will lead. Artists always lead. Politicians, scientists, they follow. The flip phone was envisioned by a production designer on Star Trek 50 years before it was invented. You know what I mean? Yeah. Artists always lead. Yeah. So I was thrilled to see all these neurospicy kids, and I was a little overwhelmed. I was like looking for the hurt ones, the ones who were feeling crushed by their oddness, and there weren't any.
Wow. That's so good.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's beautiful.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Because you know they're all in there. And then 2 weeks later, I was in Chattanooga at the Southeastern Theater Conference doing the same thing. And I was just blown away as I walked through the halls. I was like, there's not a one. There's not a one that's been crushed by the middle class. They're all middle class kids because they were able to come to do a theater festival, right? They're not at home working in their parents' shop.
Yeah.
But they're not crushed. They're expressing.
Such good news.
Yes.
That's good news. Really good. All right, you guys. This is really amazing. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
And thank you to our audience. And we will see you guys again. All right. Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.